Hello everyone, and welcome to the final part of Pikmin 3. In this part, we save Olimar and bring our food back to Kopai, and definitely don't leave him to die at the hands of a golden thing.
You can have Louie instead.
Yeah. You know what? The Plasm Wraith probably didn't take Louie on purpose, because he was looking at... Wait, this guy's an asshole.
I wonder.
Nah.
I wonder if.
I want an Olimar, not diet Olimar.
I wonder if they intentionally named the planet to sound Japanese, or if it was just something that coincidentally sounded Japanese. Because
What, PNF 404?
Because almost like.
Oh, Kopai.
Kopai,
Okay,
yes.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where everything else in the game sounds very English, or at least Western in general, except that, just that one thing.
Yeah. I would be interested to know what the names of the enemies were in Japanese. I know that Olimar and Louie are named that way because they are anagrams of
Mario and Luigi.
Mario and Luigi. Well, Olimar is an anagram in Japanese. Louie, I think, is just similar to Luigi, which is also funny considering that Luigi's name in Japanese is a pun on the word similar.
Similar.
So, yeah, that's also interesting. But yeah,
Wait, there's a Japanese pun in the Italian name Luigi.
Well, sort of. It's Ruigi is the word for similar in Japanese, which the whole RL thing. So Luigi, phonetically in Japanese is Ruigi, which is similar.
Okay, that's an interesting coincidence because I'm fairly certain they didn't pick the name because of that pun. Like
For Luigi, they probably did, yeah.
I know for Wario, Warui is the Japanese word for bad.
Isn't the story something like they got the name from a restaurant or something?
Maybe I'm not sure.
But yeah, well, Wario is based on Warui, meaning bizarre.
Well, not Wario, Mario and Luigi.
Yeah. No, I'm explaining just the thing Ted brought up.
I do remember that.
Yeah, so, but it's just one of those things, as a kid, you think, oh, because it's an upside-down M, and he's bad. But it's like, oh, in Japanese, there's also this fairly clever pun. And then they just... Also, Waluigi doesn't sound as stupid in Japanese, if I remember correctly. Because it's like Warui, and so since Luigi
So the bizarre word of Warui is more fitting in their language there compared to just putting Wa in front of Luigi.
So instead of it being Waluigi, and you're like, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
You have angered the Cosmic Cube.
So you know how in some video games they just have random cubes lying around in the background that do nothing?
Yeah.
I think this is the sentient form of all of those cubes.
You leave it alone in an uninhabited planet for so long.
Yeah, and then suddenly it becomes sentient and it wants to eat all.
What if the Rubik's Cube had a personality?
It's kind of weird how you have the Water Wraith and now the Plasma Wraith, and neither Pikmin 2 or here kind of explain how the frick they exist.
They're just weird, bizarre.
Because everything else is fairly, they're strange alien creatures, but they are biologically inclined to be, these are what the animals look like on this planet. So it's okay, whatever.
But if you listen closely, even the music reflects that for this creature.
Well, yeah, because it is the whole alien, 50 sci-fi boo thing.
So you connect their argument that it's probably not of this world.
Yeah, that was the case in Pikmin 2 as well, where the Water Wraith had a very alien and menacing sounding theme to it that played whenever it dropped down. And the payoff for that was when you got to the boss fight and you exposed its weak point, it played like a dumpy, comedic version of it instead. So yeah, I think part of it is that, again, since this is alien, you kind of forget that it's an alien planet in Pikmin sometime, because you're just like, oh, it's this weird cartoon universe, or whatever. And this really does feel kind of like that sort of mysterious, alien threat. And by alien, I mean the movie Alien, where, it's like this random weird creature. is chasing you, and you don't know where it's gonna pop up next. So on. I don't know if they'll ever like explain like what the hell is up with these things, or why they're specifically obsessed with Olimar. I do like the idea of throwing Louie at it, and seeing if it'll try to keep him instead. But I have a feeling that the Water Wraith would be like, "Can we have Olimar?" And then the Plasma Wraith is like, "We have Olimar at home."
Are at home. All of them are at home.
It's just Louie. Yeah. I also tend to get lost in this area a good bit as well.
It's hard to see.
I feel like
Yeah.
it would probably ruin part of the feeling if they ever did actually like give certain things on this world an explanation. Like
Yeah.
It kind of depends, because you can keep a mystery, but you do have to eventually at some point answer that question.
you don't. Well, it's not necessarily that you need to answer it, but there does need to be enough there that your brain can connect enough dots that it feels like there is an answer to the mystery, and you can almost see it.
So that's actually, I have a great example of this. Shin Megami Tensei 4. This isn't really a huge spoiler, but in that game, there's a point where you learn a lot about the backstory of the world in Shin Megami Tensei 4, and you can come to the conclusion that, oh, there was a situation in the world very similar to a Shin Megami Tensei game before, where, like, this hero in the past made a choice, and that choice affected how the world popped up. And that's something that you have to kind of deduce through a bunch of different, like, side conversations with people that you can miss. And in the sequel-ish, the Black and White 2 of that game, effectively, Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, they spell it out, and they basically just confirm that, yes, this is the thing that happened. Yes, this person made this choice, and that's why the world is the way it is. And it's not as satisfying when it's spelled out to you versus when you figure it out
It's
yourself.
Yeah, it's like
merely
it's
implied.
not that the question shouldn't have an answer that exists, but knowing the answer as the story's creator isn't quite the same as spelling it out to the audience. Yeah, sometimes it's better to know what the answer is and to only give the audience enough clues that they can sort of see what the answer might be.
Yeah. Like, for example, I don't think that they should ever say what caused the apocalypse in the Pikmin universe, like, ever. Like, I think that I don't really care what caused.
Yeah, I was like, does it really matter?
No,
One of
not
the
really.
one of the interesting things about history in the real world is that there is no convenient author figure who's going to answer these questions for you. A lot of it is going to be perpetually unknown, and you have to figure things out based on clues and detective work.
Yeah. And even when there are specific, like, histories and whatever written down, this is, like, specifically a thing in a lot of Roman history. Like, there are multiple accounts of what happened, and so there's a lot of bias there, and you don't really know which accounts are accurate in which places,
Yeah.
which is also something you have to keep in mind. Like, there are specific people who are, like, more biased towards Caesar or biased against Caesar or whoever the emperor at the time was. And it's like, okay, so who's really right here? You know, and we don't really have a good history of
Yeah,
that.
to go for something that's a bit more of a staple in a lot of people's lives. When you try to examine the existence of Jesus from a historical standpoint, the question gets pretty difficult. And
Like, yeah, because there's, like, some stuff, but it's not really, like, concrete. Like, there's some, like, if I remember correctly, like, there's some records, like, that show, like, this guy was crucified on this day
Yeah.
or whatnot, but, you know, it's all, like, 2,000 years old, so you can't.
there's difficulty determining what the real history is. There's also some truly bizarre stuff that is almost certainly a red herring, like that one village in Japan where they think Jesus actually, like, traveled there from Rome and Israel and died there. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, that
I
village
don't know how
exists.
anybody in the Middle East at that time could walk all the way, because you'd have to walk all the way through Asia and then sail to Japan, right?
I think the theory is that it was the village was the home of some missionary or something, and the history behind the village just got way inflated over time. But yeah, that's a thing that happened.
So that's actually one of my favorite gags in Dragon Quest VII. There's a town in the game where one of the villagers has a pet worm, but it keeps on growing when it eats, and all of the other villagers are scared by it, so they want you to kill it. If you say no, you convince the guy to let it go free. And eventually what happens is that other worms attack, and the good worm sacrifices itself to save the town. You go to the future in that game, and it turns out that the people remember his sacrifice, but they forget that he was a worm. So there's like this statue of a really buff dude in the center of the town.
This thing, I can see chasing this thing down being the most annoying thing.
Yeah, because you lose so much progress is the problem.
It moves
so you
pretty
really have...
fast for something so big.
Yes, it does. It also, like you mentioned earlier, it ignores certain obstacles.
Where did it go?
Behind us, because we go through the loading zone faster than it does.
Oh, okay. I thought it had gotten like way ahead of you in that transition.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Thankfully, though, it does stop at certain points. Because while you're attacking it, it will stop to try to attack you. So once you like catch up with it, it will it will stop, and you have a chance to like keep.
Oh, good! It's being carried by blue Pikmin. You can just take Olimar underwater now.
Well, the Wraith can still get you, but
Yeah, the Wraith can go into the
Oh.
water. There is a spot where with either blue Pikmin or yellow Pikmin not yellow, wing Pikmin in this room, where the pathing for it is weird, and you can just stand there and it won't ever get to it. I forget where exactly it is. It's because the thing is only programmed to go at it from a specific angle, so it'll keep on going around in circles and won't ever get to you. But that's a glitch, obviously, or an oversight maybe, not necessarily a glitch. So the game is clearly intended that you're supposed to keep on
Yeah,
moving
unfortunately, this isn't an Ashley situation where you can just tell her to hide in a dumpster and forget about her for a little while.
In Resident Evil 4, like, most of the time that was safe, but there were a few examples where, like, somebody could then examine the dumpster and find her, right?
It might happen, but it's never happened to me because all of the enemies
I think it can only happen when an enemy sees you put Ashley in there.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But usually there's a dumpster like right at the entrance to an area, so you can put her in there before looking around for enemies, so it's not really an issue that comes up. And once she's hiding, the enemies all just focus on Leon, because they're smarter than zombies, but that doesn't necessarily make them smart.
Yeah. I also remember that game didn't really want you to stealth super often. So it's not like there were a lot of instances where you had to, walk forward, put Ashley in a dumpster, covertly take care of a couple of dudes, and then pick her up and then.
Oh
walk her
no!
forward to the next
You put her in
dumpster.
the dumpster. You cleared out the entire area, and then you went back to the dumpster. It was pretty straightforward.
You could also whistle, and then she would pop out of the.
I think she
dumpster and just
would.
walk to
Yeah.
you.
She would, but that would leave her open to potentially getting grabbed.
Yeah, but presumably after you defeated all of the enemies.
That
Yeah.
thing is
Save
so
the
creepy.
backtracking. It is very, very creepy. Also, its thighs are dummy thick.
Okay, what even is that supposed to be?
The Plasma Wraith. Also, the final boss music in this game is really, really good.
You know what this reminds me of? The Yellow Devil.
It
Yeah.
does actually look like
Yeah,
how
if
I
you-
would
if you-
examine
like
it
if-
in 3D.
Yeah, if you put a red dot in the circle there.
Yeah.
This thing is a sentient rotisserie chicken. And yes, I know what I said.
Oh, I'm seeing it. Well, now not
Yeah.
so much. Now it's
No, not now.
now it's a rotisserie chicken that skipped leg day.
Now it is. Yeah.
And why would you ever want a rotisserie chicken that skipped leg day?
That is a good question. Yeah, so this boss works differently than the other bosses. So when it when you attack it, you do damage, but it will drop all of its goop around. And what you're supposed to do is attack the goop, because that will make it go away. Because when it sucks up all the goop, it heals a significant portion of its health.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
So it makes the fight... It's an interesting kind of take on the fight, because it's not just about dealing damage to it, because you can throw Pikmin onto it at pretty much any time, and they will latch on and deal damage. That's not typically how Pikmin bosses work. Usually they have a weak point, and you have to find the right time to hit the weak point, versus, just being able to latch on at any point. So it's interesting, and it's fun, and it's dynamic. It's just, again, it's really, really long, and this guy has a lot of attacks, so...
Especially when he starts doing his elemental attacks once you get through, I think, about half the way of the fight.
Yeah, he's starting it now, so...
This does feel a little like a boss that would have been good if the game were being played in co-op.
Yeah, so that is actually something that they added particularly for the Switch version, is you can finally play the single player in co-op, which is something I've wanted them to do for Pikmin since Pikmin 2.
Yeah, so you could have one player focusing on just damaging the goddamn rotisserie chicken and another player on cleanup duty to get rid of the slime.
Yeah, which would significantly shorten the amount of time, because you don't have to damage him twice, effectively. One person plays Mario Sunshine and the other person just tries to beat up the boss. It's just also really easy to lose a lot of Pikmin in this fight, because if the boss, the attacks are all dodgeable. It's just there's a lot to manage, because you want to be dodging the guy and attacking him and cleaning up the slime all at the same time.
And they start doing the Wraith's attacks, like setting itself on fire so that you can only damage it with red Pikmin.
Yeah. So they handled this a lot better than the final boss of Pikmin 2. In Pikmin 2, the objectively best way to do that boss was to bring in only yellow Pikmin, because the electric attack is the only attack that can insta-kill your Pikmin. So you just whistle all of the Pikmin when they get poisoned or watered or whatever, and then you just attack with just yellows. It's just the safest way to do that fight.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, you run out of time, but it keeps the health taken from it, so it's not a huge deal.
Yeah, so when I come back to him, he only has a quarter of his health left.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean it's a bit anticlimactic, but
and you do start right here. You don't have to drag Olimar through the entire thing again.
Yeah, like you just walk straight to the left, and then the final arena is right there.
It's like, you know what? We're tired. We're gonna go
Yeah,
take a nap.
Alamar can wait.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, it's closing time.
Clock out, everyone.
But
what about
Plasma Wraith? But our fight can't union break.
Our rep's gonna be pissed with us if we do overtime this week.
It feels like they really probably should have stopped the timer for the boss fight, though.
I would agree. So if this is the last thing that you do, I'm imagining, before credits roll.
Yeah, especially since there is you can walk back up to the ship and restock on Pikmin. So it's not just like oh, there wouldn't be a way to get yourself back. I mean, I do think that there should be a checkpoint here, and if you, just on the chance that you run out of Pikmin for the fight, because that is possible, so that you can go back to an earlier area and grind. Because if I remember correctly, there is no way to grow Pikmin in this.
What's the name of that? What's the name of that Pokemon from Sword and Shield? The one that was in Pokemon Go for a bit. Was it Melton?
Meltan, yeah.
Meltan, yeah. That reminds me of that for some reason.
Oh, he does look a lot like that. It's the whole head, I think is.
Yeah, it's the whole head, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. You just lost, all your Pikmin.
Yeah.
Everyone I know is dead.
Nope. Space-time rewind.
That's not how it happened. Dagger of time, go.
Oh, I should have cut that reset out.
The entire thing out, yeah.
No, I'm glad you left it in. That was amazing.
Okay, now we can fit in a mid-roll.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so the ship's literally right there. So if you run out of time, you're not going that far back in order to save him. I don't know why he doesn't go back into the tree trunk, and like try to get you there, but you know what? Whatever.
I think he did regenerate a little health, like he managed to get a bunch of his slime back, and...
Yeah, so I think that if you have any slime on the ground when time runs out, it effectively counts that slime as his health. So, like, because he was at about a quarter, but there was some slime on the ground, so when the game reloaded, it counted as if it had already sucked that slime back in, pretty much. Which I suppose makes sense, because you could have I suppose there might be some weird coding things that could happen if it ever, if it didn't do it like that. One small touch I do like, though, is that this guy slowly shrinks as you damage him, which A, is just a cool effect, but B, also does slightly make the boss harder as you go, because he's a smaller target to hit.
Oh, yeah.
Which I also...
Does he move faster?
I don't know if he moves
well.
faster, but it's harder to hit.
You know what I bet? I bet they have a separate invisible health meter running in the background to determine how large he is. That's based on how much of his slime you've destroyed.
Yeah, pretty much. Because it's not just tied to his health. Like, his health can be at a specific point, and he won't get smaller until you destroy until he... Like, he'll only get smaller when he spits out the slime, I guess is the best way to put it. Yeah. Paper Mario 64, Huff and Puff did a similar trick, where as you did damage to him, little clouds puffed out of him, and as you killed those clouds, he got smaller. Yeah, I do believe also you don't have to... The slime is just kind of like his permanent health. So, yeah, like how he sucked some up and then got some health back. You could leave the slime alone at this point when he's just at a sliver of health, and then just focus on like killing him outright if you wanted to, which is honestly probably what I should be doing at this point, and I think is what I am doing right now.
Dog pile.
Oh wait, no, I guess it doesn't.
It had
work
just
like that.
It had just a little bit of health.
Yeah,
You needed.
and then I do like that it becomes tiny at the end. He's dead.
Take this cosmic cube and shove it up your mock bottom.
Also, note that this thing is not dead. It is slithering away right now.
Yeah, it is slithering away.
Yeah. So, we're going to come back in Pikmin 4, and there's going to be a gold, silver, and a bronze one. Dicking.
Yeah, as many bosses.
Yeah.
Platinum Wraith as a final boss.
Yeah, I do like that they also create different like creatures for each final boss. Like the first boss was the Bulbax, second boss was the Spider, and this guy's the Plasm Wraith. It's nice to have different aliens be the final boss in the game and not just like.
I see you've rescued my colleague Louie. I hope he didn't abscond with any of your food. He has a habit of doing that.
I see you've also rescued my.
Actually,
crewmate,
that's
Louie,
exactly
as well.
what he did.
Oh.
Most unfortunate.
Oh, great! You rescued Louie. I'm very happy about that. Here, take your car keys.
Maybe we could pretend you didn't rescue Louie, and I'll just say he died heroically doing something, I guess. I'll figure something out on the way
Where's
home.
Louie? MIA, let's go.
I'm sorry, Captain Olimar, but nobody would believe that back home. You're right. Let's just take him. Also, Olimar's voice is so deep in this game. He's like, but you don't imagine. Because, you know, he's a middle-aged man, so it does make sense. So, yeah, you get this same ending cutscene every single time when you beat the game, with all the Pikmin and whatnot.
What happened to the white and purple ones? What?
They are in the game if you do the mission mode. You can
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, what's Olimar's reaction to suddenly not seeing white and purples anywhere?
Well, they did all live underground, so I guess that kind of makes sense. Look at those adorable little fucks.
See you in vaguely 4 years.
The plasma thing is still alive, though. I mean, the camera's also focusing on that aspect too.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I mean, what's he gonna do? Like, he has the right to live, right? And he wasn't hurting Olimar, you just wanted to collect him, like an amiibo.
Could we send him an Olimar amiibo, and would that do the job?
But the Olimar amiibo is probably like 4 to 8 times bigger than actual Olimar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
We have
one.
to consider.
That is one thing I do love about the Pikmin amiibo, and the Chibi Robo amiibo as well. They're actual sized. Like the Pikmin amiibo has like 5 different Pikmin lying on it, and they are the size of what a real Pikmin would be, which is really cute. Oh, the blue Pikmin has like little webbed feet on it. I'm just looking at it right now. Aw, look at that adorable little asshole. Yeah, so this is the only thing that really changes after learning the valuable lessons of planning and teamwork.
Unbeknownst to our explorers, but known to us, Miyamoto would say Pikmin 4 was almost done 5 years ago.
Man, you know what? They've just been really, really good about it being almost done. And the really frustrating thing is that we're never going to know when Pikmin 4 is actually done now, because according to their new news cycle, they will only ever show it off when it is actually almost done.
Ah.
Which is...
Okay,
annoying.
Nintendo, then where is it? If it's almost done and you're only releasing things when it's almost done, hello?
It's in the Schrodinger's box. We went over this. We brought it up, and so Nintendo says that it is both in and out of the box, depending on when it, what BrainScratch is talking about that day.
Oh, well, I will say that this game caught my attention in a way that Pikmin 1 and 2 didn't. So
It's a great game. I think it is probably the best game to show people if they're interested in the series. 1, because it's much prettier than 1 or 2. 2, because it's very accessible. And 3, it's just it's a lot of fun in a way that I think is more accessible than 1 or 2, even though I personally think that 1 is still probably my favorite. It's 1's also jank in a lot of ways because it's old.
It feels like 1 and 2 both have issues in terms of mechanics and pacing that that hold them back, and in 3 they mostly found the sweet spot between the strengths of both games.
Yeah, and, obviously there are going to be people who just like the more open field, the first one, or for some reason really like the dungeon grind field, the second one. I won't understand you Pikmin 2 people, but you know what? You can have your game,
I can sort of understand it, because dungeon grind in any context does generally have an addictive quality to it.
Yeah. But in any case, yeah, I do think that overall, if I were to try to get somebody to play Pikmin, I would give them this third game as their best starting point. And it's
Nate Bildorf.
Yeah, Nate Bildorf will probably never leave.
It's also nice to see Leslie Swan appear in a game, appear in the credits when the rare time she does.
Yeah, I don't know how much she actually works on games anymore, as opposed to other things. But yeah, this is a great game. I really do recommend it. The Switch port is coming out.
Pikmin 3 Deluxe, I think I solved it, Ted. It's actually Pikmin 4 because D is the 4th letter of the alphabet.
Oh god, I really hope not.
I need to get a larger SD card for my Switch because, geez, too many games.
So the only thing about me being somewhat hesitant about recommending the Switch version of Pikmin 4 is Pikmin 3. Sorry. Is that I don't know how well the motion controls will translate to a standard control scheme. Part of what makes this game so fun is that the Wiimote controls are basically perfect for the kind of game it's trying to be.
I mean, you could always play Joy-Con, I guess.
Yeah, so again, I guess that's the only thing that's keeping it from being a firm recommendation, but they did finally put the game back up on Wii U, unless if they take it down again between recordings, in which case the BrainScratch really is cursed.
The C in BrainScratch stands for cursed.
Yeah, BrainScratch curse. So yeah, I really would. The Wii U version, I mean, if you want to play something on your Wii U, this is one of the better choices. I can't blame you if you don't want to play something on your Wii U. Turning that thing on sounds terrifying. Well, not terrifying, just depressing. But yeah, this is my high score. This was not a particularly excellent playthrough. I will admit, I let a lot of Pikmin die. I took a long time to do it. Although this was my fastest playthrough No, it wasn't. Wait. How did I do a playthrough in 9 more days, but in less time?
By ending days early.
But I don't normally do that.
Maybe you did that time.
Oh, maybe your
I'm
approach just altered in a subtle way because you were recording.
Yeah. However, I am better than the average though because we can kind of see there. It normally takes people 40 to 50 days in order to get all the fruit, and most people get back about like 30 to 40 fruit is what those graphs show us. So, okay, that's interesting. In any case, hopefully by the time this part goes up, they will tell us where Pikmin 4 actually is. But don't worry, it's almost done. Almost done. Good night, everyone.
Good night.